Listen to me, chosen one. God removed them from your life for a reason, and the most dangerous mistake you could ever make right now is trying to chase them back. You think you lost something, but in reality you were rescued. You think they walked away, but in truth, God pulled them out of your hands before they destroyed what He was building inside you. I need you to hear this. The very people you are crying over, the ones you thought you couldn't live without, were secretly becoming the chains keeping you from stepping into your destiny. And when God broke those chains, He didn't do it to hurt you. He did it to save you. Pause for a moment and hit that like button if this word already speaks to your spirit. Because I know somebody listening right now feels the weight of this truth. There are some people who could not go where God is taking you. Their presence in your life was a distraction disguised as comfort. You didn't see it yet, because when your heart is attached, your vision gets blurry. But God saw what you couldn't. He saw the betrayal before it happened. He saw the envy hidden behind their smile. He saw the destruction they carried, and because He loves you too much, He cut the connection. That wasn't rejection, that was divine protection. But here's the hard part. When you've loved deeply, when you've invested your time, your emotions, maybe even your soul into someone, it hurts when they're gone. That emptiness makes you want to reach back, to call, to text, to open that door again just to feel something familiar. But chosen one, I need you to understand this with all your being. Going back would be a trap. Because what God removes is never meant to be picked back up. If you try to rebuild what He destroyed, you'll be building your own prison with your own hands. Let me make this clear. Some exits are not accidents. Some departures are not misunderstandings. Some goodbyes are the voice of God saying, "You cannot stay here." And if you ignore that voice, if you fight to keep what He is breaking apart, you're not only delaying your breakthrough, you're risking your peace, your calling, even your soul. Think about the moments you begged God for clarity, when you cried out asking Him to show you who was real, who was for you, who could walk with you into your future. And then suddenly people started leaving, masks started falling, relationships started crumbling. That wasn't coincidence, that was your prayer being answered. You asked for truth and God gave it to you. But the truth doesn't always come dressed in comfort. Sometimes the truth feels like heartbreak. Sometimes the truth feels like betrayal. Sometimes the truth feels like loneliness. But it is still truth, and truth is always freedom. Even when it cuts. I want you to picture this. Imagine carrying a bag filled with bricks. Heavy and exhausting, but because you've been holding it for so long, you've convinced yourself it's part of you. Then God steps in and rips the bag from your hands. Suddenly you feel lighter, freer. But at first you panic because your hands are empty. You cry because something is missing. But what's missing was never meant to be part of you. That's what's happening in your life right now. The people God removed were bricks, not blessings. They were burdens, not partners. And though it hurts, you are finally free to run without the weight pulling you down. And let me give you this shocking truth. If God hadn't removed them, they would have ruined you. They would have drained you until nothing was left. They would have sabotaged your destiny quietly, little by little, until you didn't even recognize yourself. Some people are not assignments. They're assassins, sent to kill your joy, to kill your confidence, to kill your faith. And the only reason you survived is because God said, "Enough." Chosen one, don't let loneliness trick you into chasing what God already ended. Loneliness is temporary. Pain is temporary. But the consequences of disobedience are permanent. If you bring them back, you bring back the same confusion, the same manipulation, the same spiritual warfare you barely survived the first time. And this time, it could cost you everything. Here's a question I need you to wrestle with. Why would you chase something that God Himself removed? Why would you fight to keep what heaven has already rejected? Don't you know that the reason it fell apart is because your spirit was too powerful to be trapped in their cage? You don't belong in cycles. You don't belong in patterns. You don't belong in toxic attachments. You belong in purpose. You belong in destiny. You belong in the light God called you to carry. And here's the tension. Yes, they may call you back. Yes, they may show up again, pretending to be changed, pretending to care. But remember this. The enemy knows what your heart longs for, and he will use familiar faces to reopen closed doors. Don't fall for it. A return is not always redemption. Just because someone comes back doesn't mean they've been transformed. Sometimes it means they've been sent as a distraction to pull you off course again. You need discernment, chosen one. Discernment to recognize the difference between restoration and manipulation. And I need you to catch this. the blessing you're praying for, the breakthrough you're waiting on, the life God is preparing for you, cannot come as long as you keep holding on to what He removed. God will not pour new oil into old containers. He will not place fresh fire in the same spaces that quenched it. If you want the promise, you have to let go of the past. If you want the future, you have to release the familiar. So tonight, when your heart aches, when the memories come flooding back, when you feel like picking up the phone and calling them, I want you to stop and remember, God removed them. Not by mistake, not by chance, but because He saw what you couldn't see. And if you trust Him with your soul, then trust Him with your relationships. He knows who belongs in your life and who doesn't. Don't chase after what He pulled away, because what's coming, chosen one, is so much greater than what you lost, you see. Chosen one. One of the hardest lessons you'll ever learn is that not everyone you love is meant to stay. Some people were only chapters, not the whole story. And if you keep rereading the same chapter, you'll never finish the book God is writing for your life. The truth is, when God removes someone, He is creating space. Space for the people who truly align with your destiny. Space for the blessings you've been praying for. Space for the version of you that He's shaping and refining. But if you clutter that space with what He already cleared away, you're telling Him, God, I don't trust you to fill the emptiness. And here's the hidden danger. The enemy knows your weakness. He knows how badly you crave connection, how badly you want comfort, how much you hate the silence. That's why, right after a separation, the temptation to chase them back feels unbearable. It's not just nostalgia, it's warfare. That pull you feel to run back into their arms is not always love. Sometimes it's a spiritual leash trying to drag you back into bondage. And if you don't recognize it, you'll confuse a trap for a blessing. Ask yourself this: how many times did you ignore red flags because you wanted the relationship to work? How many times did you silence your intuition because you were afraid of losing them? How many nights did you cry yet still convinced yourself they were meant for you? That wasn't love. That was attachment. And God had to break it before it broke you. But here's where it gets deep. Sometimes God removes people in a way that feels harsh. They don't just drift away quietly. They betray you. They hurt you. They expose themselves in ways that leave you bleeding. And you wonder, why did it have to end like this? But listen carefully. If it ended in pain, it's because God wanted you to lose the appetite for what was killing you. If it ended in betrayal, it's because God didn't want you to ever doubt again that they weren't for you. The wound was the closure. The pain was the proof. The ending was the evidence, and yet, chosen one, the biggest battle is not outside you. It's inside. Because even after God removes them, your mind replays the memories. Your heart replays the moments, your body misses the presence. That's when you're tempted to reach back. That's when you're tempted to send the message, to make the call, to unlock the door. But here's the truth. Healing requires discipline. Healing requires letting the wound close without ripping it back open. Healing requires trusting that if God said no, then no is mercy. Mini hook. What if the emptiness you're feeling right now isn't punishment? What if it's preparation? See, emptiness is not your enemy. Emptiness is where God pours the new. Emptiness is where He rebuilds you. Emptiness is where He proves that His presence is enough. And if you can sit in that emptiness without running back to what broke you, you'll discover that the peace of God is more satisfying than the touch of anyone who wasn't meant for you. Think about it. How many times in your past did you think you couldn't live without someone? And yet here you are. How many times did you think your world was over when they left, and yet you survived? That's the evidence that you don't need them. You need Him. And the sooner you anchor yourself in that truth, the sooner the tears will turn into strength. But I know what you're thinking. What if they really change? What if they're the one and I'm throwing away my chance? Listen closely. God does not remove the right people. If someone is truly assigned to your life, they won't be pulled away by His hand. They'll endure the storms with you. They'll walk through fire beside you. They'll align with your spirit. The fact that God removed them is the loudest confirmation that they were not your person. Stop confusing lessons for soulmates. Stop mistaking seasonal people for lifetime partners. And here's something you need to catch. Every time you try to reopen what God closed, the pain comes back stronger. That's why the second round of heartbreak is always worse than the first, because the first time you didn't know. But the second time you knew better and still went back. And that guilt, that regret, that I should have listened voice, though, that's what the enemy wants to use to destroy your confidence. Don't give him that access. Protect your peace like it's treasure, because it is. Chosen one, If you truly believe God is writing your story, then you must also believe He knows which characters belong in it. And some characters are meant to exit early so the plot can move forward. If you force them to stay, you break the flow of the story. You trap yourself in endless circles. That's why some of you have been feeling stuck, because you're still holding on to what God told you to release. Destiny cannot unfold in hands that refuse to let go. Mini hook. But what if the very thing you're holding on to is blocking the very thing you're praying for? That's the reality. You're asking God for peace, but holding on to the person who caused your anxiety. You're asking God for joy, but holding on to the one who drained your smile. You're asking God for a future, but holding on to someone who was only part of your past. You can't have both. You must choose. And every time you choose obedience over attachment, heaven celebrates, because that's when alignment happens. Now here's the part that will set you free. You don't have to hate them to let them go. You don't have to be bitter. You don't have to seek revenge. You don't have to prove anything. You just have to release. Release with grace. Release with trust. Release with faith that if God removed them, it's because something greater is coming. Don't waste your energy trying to figure out why they left, why they changed, why they turned against you. Some answers will only slow you down. The only thing you need to know is this: God's removal is always God's redirection. So the next time that number pops up on your phone, the next time that memory floods your mind, the next time you feel the urge to reach back, stop and remind yourself, this door is closed by God. And if He closed it, it's for my good. Because chosen one, what God has for you will never require you to chase what He removed. Chosen one, let me ask you something raw and real. If they were truly your blessing, why did peace leave every time they entered the room? Why did you shrink yourself, dim your light, silence your truth just to keep them comfortable? That's not love. That's bondage dressed in affection. And God will never call you to stay chained in the name of loyalty. He broke that chain because He's calling you higher. But here's the battle. The flesh wants comfort, even if it's poison. The soul craves what is familiar, even if it's fatal. That's why you find yourself replaying their laugh, their touch, their presence, as if those fragments could erase the nights of tears, the constant confusion, the weight they placed on your chest. Memory is selective. It tricks you into romanticizing captivity. But the Spirit of God whispers truth. Don't go back. I delivered you once, don't return to the chains. Pause right here and let this sink in. Deliverance is not complete until your heart agrees with what God has already done in your life. You may be physically separated, but if your mind keeps wandering back, if your spirit keeps longing for what was toxic, then you're still tied. And God is not just after your circumstances. He's after your soul. He wants you free in every dimension: mind, body, and spirit. Mini hook. Could it be that the emptiness you feel right now is not abandonment, but the beginning of transformation? Because when God strips something away, He always replaces it with Himself first. That's why the silence feels so loud. That's why the nights feel so long. That's why the void seems unbearable. It's because He's filling you with Himself before He sends anyone else. He's teaching you how to stand alone with Him, so you'll never again depend on broken people to give you what only He can. This season of solitude isn't punishment, it's training. And here's the truth most people don't want to hear. You cannot carry your destiny with the wrong people attached. God's hand is heavy on your life. You are not ordinary. Your calling is not casual. And because of that, the pruning is severe. He removes faster. He cuts deeper. He separates more suddenly. And while others can cling to old connections, you can't. While others can survive in counterfeit love, you can't. Your assignment demands clarity. Your purpose demands purity. Your future demands obedience. Think about Joseph. Sold by his own brothers, rejected, falsely accused, imprisoned. At every stage, people were stripped from his life. It looked like loss, but it was actually positioning. If Joseph had stayed in the comfort of his father's house, surrounded by the very brothers who hated him, he never would have reached the palace. Sometimes rejection is transportation. Sometimes betrayal is the vehicle that drives you to your destiny. And that's what's happening to you right now. That person leaving wasn't an end, it was a beginning. It wasn't closure, it was a calling. It wasn't destruction, it was direction. But the enemy wants you stuck in the illusion that you lost something valuable, so you never step into the truth that you've been upgraded. Mini hook. What if the very thing you're crying over is the doorway to the blessing you've been praying for? Here's the revelation. You can't chase them and chase God at the same time. One will always pull you from the other. And if you choose to chase someone God removed, you're not just chasing them, you're running away from Him. You're telling the Creator of your soul, I don't trust your decision. I know better. And that pride is what leads to cycles of heartbreak. But humility says, God, if you took it, I trust you. If you closed it, I surrender. If you removed it, I release it. Chosen one, you must learn to love yourself enough to let go, to see yourself the way God sees you, too valuable to be mistreated, too anointed to be distracted, too chosen to be chained. Stop lowering yourself just to be accepted by people who never even saw your worth. Stop chasing tables where you were only tolerated when God is preparing a throne where you'll be celebrated. Listen closely. They didn't leave because you weren't enough. They left because you were too much for the smallness of their spirit. They couldn't handle your light. They couldn't handle your calling. They couldn't handle the weight of what God placed inside you. And instead of celebrating it, they tried to contain it. That's why they're gone. Not because you failed, but because you outgrew them. Mini hook. Have you realized yet that what feels like loss is actually proof of your growth? Every step of growth requires separation. Flowers outgrow pots, eagles outgrow nests, children outgrow clothes, and chosen ones outgrow environments, relationships, and connections that can't sustain their destiny. It hurts, yes. It feels unfair, yes. But it's necessary. Because if you stay in what you've outgrown, you suffocate. And God loves you too much to let that happen. So tonight, when the temptation comes, when loneliness screams, when you want to run back to what's familiar, I want you to stop and ask yourself, do I want comfort or do I want destiny? Because you can't have both. Comfort will keep you in cycles. Destiny will require you to embrace the unknown. Comfort will hand you temporary relief. Destiny will hand you eternal reward. Comfort will keep you stuck with the wrong people. Destiny will connect you with the right ones. This is why you can't chase them back. Because the version of you that God is raising cannot survive in the atmosphere they kept you in. They belong to the old you. But the old you is gone. You've been set apart. You've been refined. You've been elevated. And once you've tasted the freedom of God, you can't go back to bondage without breaking yourself. So let this be your declaration. If God removed it, I release it. If God ended it, I accept it. If God closed the door, I will not pry it open. Say it until your spirit believes it. Say it until the memories lose their grip. Say it until your soul breathes free again. Because chosen one, God never takes without giving. He never removes without replacing. And what's coming next will make you understand why it had to end. Chosen one, lean in, because this part is going to cut deep. The danger of chasing what God removed is not just heartbreak, it's disobedience. And disobedience always comes with a cost. You think you're just running after a person, but in reality, you're running out of alignment with heaven. And when you step out of alignment, you step into warfare. You were never supposed to fight. That's why the first round with them almost destroyed you. That's why you lost your peace, your focus, your confidence. That's why you cried yourself to sleep asking God to fix it. But don't you see? The pain you went through the first time was already proof they weren't meant for you. And if you go back, you'll relive that pain and only worse. Because every time you return to what God delivered you from, the bondage grows heavier, the wound cuts deeper, the lesson costs more. Mini hook. Do you really want to repeat the same test, or are you ready to finally graduate? God is not trying to punish you, He's trying to promote you. But promotion always requires separation. There are doors you can't walk through holding the wrong hand. There are levels you can't access dragging dead weight. There are blessings you can't carry if your arms are full of what He already told you to drop. And some of you are holding so tightly to the past that your hands are too full to receive the future. Listen carefully. The pain of letting go is temporary, but the pain of holding on to the wrong people is permanent. That's why God ripped them away. That's why He made it uncomfortable. That's why He closed the door in such a way that you couldn't force it back open. He wasn't trying to hurt you, He was trying to protect you. But protection feels like rejection when you don't trust His plan. Chosen one, you need to ask yourself, do I want to stay in Egypt because it's familiar, or do I want to cross the Red Sea into freedom? Because that's the choice. Egypt is comfortable, but it's slavery. Destiny is unknown, but it's freedom. And too many people choose slavery disguised as comfort because they fear the emptiness of the wilderness. Don't make that mistake. Don't choose chains because they're familiar. Don't choose people who cost you your peace just because your heart is afraid of silence. Here's a shocking truth. Some people are sent into your life as blessings, and others as lessons. The problem is we fall in love with the lesson. We try to marry what was only meant to teach us, and when God removes them, we call it loss when really it's graduation. You learned what you needed to learn. You grew how you needed to grow. Now it's time to move forward. Mini hook. What if clinging to the past is the very thing delaying your future? You've been praying for God to bring you into abundance. You've been asking Him to open doors, to send favor, to release blessings. But here's the secret: blessings are weighty, and God won't place them on shoulders that are already breaking under the wrong load. That's why He removed them. He had to clear the space. He had to lighten the load. He had to strip away what was draining you so you'd be strong enough to carry what's coming. But I'll be honest with you. Some of you aren't tired of the pain yet. That's why you're still tempted to run back. Because sometimes the heart doesn't let go until the suffering becomes unbearable. And God in His mercy is trying to stop you before you get to that point. He's trying to save you from yourself. But He won't force you. He gives you the choice: obedience or cycles, freedom or bondage, peace or confusion, destiny or distraction. And let me tell you this with urgency: the enemy is watching. He knows what you carry. He knows what's coming for you. He knows the doors that are about to open. And his strategy is simple: keep you tied to what God already cut, because as long as you're tied, you can't fly. That's why the pull to go back feels spiritual, because it is. It's a battle for your destiny, and the only way you win is by staying free. Chosen one, I need you to understand. Your future is worth more than your feelings. Your calling is worth more than your comfort. Your destiny is worth more than your desire for what's familiar. Don't trade eternal purpose for temporary connection. Don't sell your inheritance for a bowl of soup like Esau did. Don't forfeit your throne just to have company in the waiting room. Mini hook. If they couldn't value you when they had access to you, why would you believe they'll honor you now that they're gone? Stop convincing yourself that they'll change. Stop hoping they'll see your worth. Stop bargaining with yourself, saying, maybe this time will be different. No, this time will be worse, because you'll walk in knowing the truth and ignoring it anyway. That's not hope, that's self-sabotage. And you deserve more than to keep breaking yourself for people who were never assigned to build with you. Think about it. How many times did you beg for their love, their consistency, their honesty? How many times did you try to prove yourself, to earn what should have been freely given? That's not partnership, that's slavery. And God did not create you to be a slave to anyone's approval. He created you to stand tall, chosen, anointed, free. That's why He removed them. Because He knew you would never step into your full identity while still begging for crumbs at their table. So the next time loneliness whispers, the next time your heart aches, the next time you're tempted to chase them back, I want you to declare this out loud. I am too chosen to chase. I am too called to settle. I am too valuable to return to what broke me. Because chosen one, what's waiting ahead of you will not require begging. It will not require shrinking. It will not require tears just to feel seen. What's ahead of you will align effortlessly, because it will be from God. And when God sends it, you won't have to chase. It will stay. Chosen one, let's strip away every excuse right now. The truth is, if God had to remove them, then their presence was costing you too much. It was costing you peace. It was costing you sleep. It was costing you focus. And worst of all, it was costing you alignment with Him. You prayed for clarity, didn't you? You asked God to show you the truth. And when He did, you still wanted to close your eyes. That's why the separation felt like it was tearing you apart, because you were trying to hold on to what God was pulling away. But tell me this, how long will you keep fighting the very hand that's saving you? How long will you keep running back into the fire God already dragged you out of? You think it's love, but it's chains. You think it's destiny, but it's distraction. And if you don't choose obedience, you'll find yourself burned again and again until there's nothing left of the version of you God intended. Mini hook. What if the reason your spirit feels so heavy isn't because you lost them, but because you're still resisting God? Resistance weighs more than loss. Obedience lifts. Resistance crushes. That's why every time you replay the idea of going back, you feel sick in your spirit. That's why your body tenses, your stomach knots, your heart feels unsettled. It's because your soul already knows the truth. They are not for you. But your flesh wants comfort. And if you let your flesh lead, it will drag you into destruction. Chosen one, you must learn to choose destiny over desire, because desire fades, but destiny remains. Desire can deceive, but destiny never lies. Desire will have you crawling back to what broke you, But destiny will push you into the new even if it hurts. You can't live by what you feel, and you must live by what you know. And you know this: God removed them for a reason. So here's the question: are you going to keep chasing the distraction, or will you embrace the redirection? Because every time you chase them, you delay what God is trying to deliver. Every time you go back, you push your blessing further away. And let's be real, you're tired. Tired of crying. Tired of overthinking. Tired of wondering if you're enough. Tired of the cycle. Tired of carrying dead weight. Isn't it time you finally break free? Mini hook. Or are you secretly addicted to the pain they caused you? It sounds crazy, but some of you have normalized dysfunction so much that peace feels boring. You've lived in chaos so long that stability feels foreign. That's why you keep wanting to run back, not because it was good, but because it was familiar. But chosen one, you're not called to familiarity. You're called to freedom. And freedom will always feel strange at first. It will always feel uncomfortable. But it's the kind of uncomfortable that grows you. Let me remind you of this truth. Real love doesn't drain, it pours. Real connection doesn't confuse, it clarifies. Real alignment doesn't break you, it builds you. If you have to chase, beg, or prove, it's not yours. And God loves you too much to let you keep pouring into empty wells. That's why He removed them. Because He knew you would never stop giving even while they gave you nothing in return. So stop romanticizing the past. Stop playing highlights in your mind and ignoring the reality. If you're honest, they didn't just leave and they left you bleeding. They didn't just walk away. They made sure to shatter your trust first. And yet you're tempted to chase them? No, chosen one. Enough is enough. You've cried enough tears. You've begged enough prayers for them to change. You've carried enough weight. Now it's time to live. Mini hook. What if your healing is hidden in your refusal to chase? Because the moment you choose not to chase, something shifts in the spirit. The moment you stand firm and say, God, I release them fully, that's when doors begin to open. That's when your peace returns. That's when your spirit feels lighter. That's when you finally start breathing again, and the enemy knows it. That's why he whispers at night. That's why he stirs your memories. That's why he tempts you with what once was. Because if you let go completely, he loses his grip. Chosen one, you must realize this. Not everyone you lose is a loss. Some people are subtraction so God can multiply. Some doors closing are simply heaven making room for bigger ones to open. Some endings are disguised beginnings. You've been praying for breakthrough, and you didn't even see that the removal was the breakthrough. Don't sabotage your own answered prayer by running back to the very thing God set you free from. Here's what you need to hear. You're not missing out. You're being spared. You're not abandoned. You're protected. You're not rejected. You're redirected. And when you finally embrace that, your soul will stop aching for what God already said no to. Mini hook. But what if the very thing you thought was your greatest loss is about to prove itself as your greatest deliverance? You won't see it right away. That's the hard part. God's replacements don't always show up immediately. Sometimes there's a gap. Sometimes there's silence. Sometimes there's wilderness. And in that space, your faith will be tested. Will you run back to Egypt, or will you wait for the promised land? Will you chase what God removed, or will you stand still and see His salvation? Chosen one, let me prophesy this over you. If you refuse to chase them, what's ahead of you will make you wonder why you ever wanted them at all. You will look back one day, healed whole, standing in your blessing, and you will thank God for the removal. You will thank Him for the tears. You will thank Him for the silence. Because without it, you would have never been free enough to step into the abundance He prepared. So the next time you feel the urge to chase, pause, breathe, look up and remember, God took them for a reason. And I'd rather trust His reason than trust my feelings. Because chosen one, destiny will never require you to run after what walked away. Chosen one, don't you realize what's really happening here? Every removal, every exit, every person God pulled away, it was never random. It was a cleansing. God is purging your life of distractions, of counterfeits, of parasites disguised as partners. This isn't about rejection, it's about preparation. God is rearranging the atmosphere around you so that when your blessing arrives, there will be no leeches attached to it. Think carefully about the timing. Isn't it strange how God removed certain people right before your breakthrough started to take shape? That wasn't coincidence, that was divine scheduling. He knew that if they stayed, they would claim credit for what only He deserves. They would try to ride your wave without ever having endured your storm. God saw their intentions before you could. He saw the jealousy behind the smile, the competition behind the encouragement, the betrayal hiding behind the embrace. And because He loves you, He stepped in. Here's the uncomfortable truth. Sometimes the people you think are for you are secretly rooting for your failure. They may clap for you publicly, but privately they hope you fall. And God, who sees the heart, will not allow you to be entangled with those who secretly despise the very calling He placed inside you. So He removes them, often abruptly, often painfully, but always purposefully. But let me ask you something. Why are you so tempted to chase them back? Is it loneliness? Is it nostalgia? Is it fear of being alone on the path God has called you to walk? Hear this, destiny is not a group project. The calling on your life is not up for popular vote. Sometimes walking with God means walking alone, because not everyone has the capacity to handle the altitude He's taking you to. Some relationships can't survive the climb. And here's another hard truth. You cannot heal if you keep reopening the wound. Every time you chase someone God removed, you are tearing open what He was trying to close. You are extending a season He already ended. That's why the pain lingers, because you keep resuscitating what He already declared dead. Let it go. The healing you crave is waiting on the other side of release. Listen to me carefully. If you could see what God is preparing, you would never run back. You would never beg for crumbs when a feast is being set before you. You would never chase shadows when light is waiting for you. But the enemy knows your weakness, and his strategy is simple. Use your loneliness against you. Use your memories against you. Use your emotions against you. That's why you must anchor yourself in truth. God's removal is not cruelty, it's mercy. Let me give you a glimpse of what's coming. The reason God had to clear out those people is because He's about to bring divine connections into your life. People who will speak to the greatness in you instead of silencing it. People who will cover you in prayer instead of gossiping about you. People who will push you toward purpose, not pull you back into old patterns. Do you see now why the pruning was necessary? The wrong people had to leave so the right ones could arrive, and here's the sign. You will not have to force it. When the right people come, alignment will feel natural. There will be no confusion, no constant drama, no guessing where you stand. God's blessings do not come wrapped in chaos. Peace is your confirmation, discernment is your protection, and consistency is your proof. But here's a shocking truth. Before God brings the right people, He will test you with solitude. Why? Because He wants to know if your identity is anchored in Him or in people. If He blesses you with divine connections but you still crave the counterfeit, you will sabotage the gift. So He isolates you, not to punish you but to strengthen you. He strips away the noise so you can hear His voice. He empties your hand so you will recognize His provision. Let's pause right here. If this word is piercing your spirit, take a moment and hit that like button. Because this isn't just a video you're watching. This is confirmation for your life right now. Chosen one, listen. You cannot chase what God has removed and still expect Him to release what He has prepared. It doesn't work that way. Every step back into old attachments delays your forward momentum. Every time you reopen old doors, you are choosing delay over destiny, and deep down you know this. That's why you feel restless when you try to reconnect with people who are already cut off. That uneasiness is your spirit warning you. This doesn't belong to you anymore, and if you're honest, didn't God already reveal their true nature before they left? Didn't He already give you glimpses of their betrayal, their disloyalty, their hidden agenda? You saw the red flags, but love made you overlook them. Attachment made you ignore them. And now that they're gone, you're tempted to forget all of that and run back. Don't. To return to what God has removed is to walk willingly into bondage. Do you remember Lot's wife? God was delivering her from destruction, but her heart couldn't let go of what was behind her. She looked back, and in that moment she lost everything. That story isn't just history, it's a warning. Looking back can cost you your future. Don't let nostalgia trap you in what God has already freed you from. Don't let loneliness lure you into places you prayed to be delivered from. This is the hour of discipline. The chosen must learn to guard their destiny with vigilance. Not everyone can sit at your table. Not everyone can walk in your circle. Not everyone deserves access to your spirit. Guard it, protect it, honor it. You are too valuable to throw yourself back into the hands of those who mishandled you the first time. Because here's what they won't tell you. They know your worth. They just didn't honor it. And if you go back, it won't be because they've changed, it will be because you've lowered your standards. Don't ever shrink to fit what God has already outgrown in your life. You were not designed to live in cages. You were designed to soar. So let the removal stand. Let the door stay closed. Let the silence remain unbroken. Trust that God knows what He's doing. Trust that every subtraction is making room for multiplication. Trust that what is gone cannot compare to what is coming. And above all, trust that your future is worth more than your past. Chosen one, the moment you stop chasing what God removed is the moment you step into your true freedom. That is the breaking point the enemy fears most, because as long as you keep looking back, he knows you'll never see what's ahead. But once you fix your eyes forward, once you anchor yourself in the promise instead of the pain, you become unstoppable. You have to understand this. God does not make random moves in your life. Every exit, every ending, every goodbye is part of His divine blueprint. He knows who belongs to your destiny and who doesn't. He knows who can carry the weight of your calling and who would crumble under it. He knows who will protect your gift and who would exploit it. And because He loves you too much to let your purpose be sabotaged, He removes what you cannot yet see as dangerous. But here's where your obedience is tested. God can remove someone from your life, but He won't stop you if you decide to go chasing them back. That's where your choice comes in. Will you honor the separation, or will you dishonor your destiny by trying to resurrect something He buried? Remember this. You can delay your blessing, but you cannot deny it. The promise will come, but the longer you cling to what He removed, the longer it will take for you to receive it. Think about Israel in the wilderness. They could have entered the promised land in days, but because of their complaining, their disobedience, their clinging to old mindsets, they wandered for 40 years. Don't let your heart make you wander. Don't let your attachments keep you circling the same mountains. Some of you have been stuck in emotional wildernesses because you won't release who God already released. Here's the raw truth. When God says, let go, it's not a suggestion, it's protection. To chase them back is to step out from under His covering, and outside His covering, you become vulnerable to battles you were never meant to fight. That's why it feels so heavy when you try to reattach yourself to someone who's gone. Your spirit feels weighed down because you're carrying something God never intended for you to carry. So what should you do instead? You stand, you trust, you believe, you lift your eyes higher than the loss and fix them on the one who writes your story. You start speaking life over yourself. I am not abandoned, I am protected. I am not rejected, I am redirected. I am not losing, I am positioning. What left me was never meant for me, and what's for me can never miss me. Speak it until your spirit believes it. And here's the beauty. God never subtracts without multiplying. When He removes, He replaces. When He prunes, He prepares for fruit. When He closes a door, it's only because He has a greater one already built for you. The pain of removal is temporary, but the reward of obedience is eternal. Do you want proof? Look back at your own life. Every time you thought a loss would destroy you, didn't God show up? Every time you thought you couldn't live without someone, didn't you find strength you didn't know you had? Every time you thought the ending was the end of you, wasn't it really just the beginning of a new chapter? That's the pattern of grace. That's the evidence of His hand on your life. But here's the challenge. You cannot sit in this moment passively. You have to make a decision. You have to draw a line in the sand and declare, I will not chase what God has removed. I will not go back to what nearly broke me. I will not beg for what rejected me. I will stand in faith. I will walk in obedience. I will trust in God's plan. Say it out loud, because the atmosphere needs to hear it, and so does your own soul. And don't be surprised if the temptation comes stronger now. The enemy loves to test you right before your breakthrough. He'll send old names to your phone. He'll stir up old memories. He'll try to convince you that maybe, just maybe, you made a mistake letting them go. But that's a lie. You didn't let them go, God removed them. And if God removed them, then you are safer without them than you ever were with them. So here's what you do. You thank God for the removal. Yes, even through tears. You lift your hands and say, Lord, thank you for protecting me from what I couldn't see. Thank you for cutting ties I didn't have the strength to cut myself. Thank you for every closed door, every ended season, every person who walked away. Because now I know it was all part of your plan to elevate me. That gratitude will shift your perspective. It will turn your pain into power. And once you accept it, once you stop chasing, you'll feel it, the release, the peace, the clarity. Suddenly your steps will feel lighter, your vision sharper, your heart freer. That's the evidence of obedience. That's the sign that you are finally aligned with God's will. And let me leave you with this. What God has for you is so much greater than what you lost. The future he is preparing cannot compare to the past you're tempted to chase. The people he is sending will not betray, belittle, or abandon you. They will uplift, sharpen, and walk beside you. The opportunities he's unlocking will not drain you. They will fulfill you. And the destiny he's calling you to will not break you. It will reveal the strength he already placed within you. So, chosen one, lift your head. Dry your tears. Walk forward with courage. Stop chasing shadows and start embracing the light. The same God who removed them is the same God who is about to release something beyond your imagination. Trust him. Obey him. And watch how everything you thought you lost comes back to you in a form far greater than you could have dreamed. Because in the end, you never really lost anything. You were being prepared for everything.